Today's conversation is more of an acknowledgement on you now having found the greatest teacher, the provider, we could say, of all answers for every question that you may have. You have found the teacher in the silence. What do I mean by this? Have you noticed that while in a meditation, while abiding as you are in the silence, perfectly as you are, not only is reality in that moment, while abiding in the silence, acknowledged to be perfect as it is now. Reality is perfect as it is now. Mental clarity also arises. Maybe after the meditation, you may notice that things seem to take care of themselves. Maybe you had a question. It spontaneously arises as an answer. It may appear synchronistically. We could say in close proximity. Maybe you walk down the street and someone reveals the answer to the question that you had. It is acknowledged that not only is silence where the greatest teacher is found, while in the silence, the greatest teacher is found during a meditation. It is also in silence, in day-to-day life experiences, abiding as we are in the silence, in day-to-day life experiences, where the answers are revealed within. Now, as mentioned earlier, they may be reflected without as someone revealing that you had found the answer within, or pointing to the answer, or revealing a statement, or providing the answer. Yet, it was first found within. And why do I say this? I have noticed that as I've come to rely upon the source of answers within, as you have come to rely upon, let's say, the source of all answers to all questions that you have within, it seems that reality appears to be in harmony with closer proximity. This is the way I described it. What appeared before as having to, let's say, travel to a distant land, which nothing wrong with it. I had a wonderful time to get an answer, started to appear as the answer revealing itself, like, for example, what I shared earlier of walking down the street, talking to someone, and once I traveled to a distant land to get the answer was found, let's say, reflected, more accurately put, in the conversation that I had with the person walking down the street. Same is said about books. There was a time, and again, nothing wrong with it. Certainly, I've done many book discussions on this channel. There was a time where I had questions. So I would walk over to the bookstore, or I would go to Amazon and do a search for books that relate to the topic. Buy the book, read the book, and the answer would appear in the book. Again, nothing wrong with that. What I also found happening simultaneously was the answer would appear without reading the book. The answer would appear during the day-to-day life experiences. And the answer would appear, it would emerge from the silence after a meditation. And also while I was in flow, the answers arise. And interestingly, fascinatingly, we could say, I trust you've experienced this as well, is I didn't know it was in a book. So then I go and read a book about that particular topic. And that answer that I found within was revealed in that book. So the question that I had is one way better than another? Is it better to have a conversation with a person who we think has the answer, or read a book that we think has the answer? Or is it better to go within and get the answer that we were looking for? Well, personally, I don't consider one way better than another. Some might consider this way, some might consider that way. What I find is the answer always reveals itself. Now, why I speak specifically about how the answer is revealed in the silence is it brought an enormous amount of peace to me, realizing that I can get the answer, we can say. The answer emerges anywhere I am. Everywhere I am, the answer can emerge. So I don't need to do this or that, or not do this or not do that forcefully. I trust that the answer reveals itself, and it does. And as I continue to acknowledge and receive the answers, while in a meditation, after the meditation, and also while in flow, spontaneously, the answers reveal themselves. I said, what was the commonality? What was the commonality of those experiences where the answer emerged from within, clarity emerged from within? Well, related to the video that I released on Thursday, through neutralization, which is a way of releasing identification to this versus that. It needs to be this way or that way. Neutralization. I relax into the sure foundation, and clarity arises. In the moment, even when body appears to move. So, as I say sometimes, I can be still during a meditation, and clarity arises. While in the silence, as I abide in the silence, clarity arises. While I flow, body appears to flow, during conversations, like for example here, the answers reveal themselves. So in this regard, in this conversation here, the way I experience it is I don't worry about what to say, what to put into this video. As a matter of fact, I've not taken any notes. This is a free-flowing conversation from the heart of reality, the source of it all. I automatically, we could say, translate the wisdom received within from the silence. And as you and I are no different, you have done this. You continue to do this. And thus you experience it more and more so each day. And it's freeing, because as mentioned, there was at one point a worry that I need to do this, I have to do that. The answers are way over there. And again, I enjoyed the experiences of reading books. I enjoyed the experiences of having conversations with people. I enjoyed the experiences of traveling. Yet it is also very freeing, we could say, that even if those conditions are not met, the answer reveals itself now, as the silence is here now, and the silence is, we could say, over there. So what is universally true then is now is where the silence is. And at any point, I can relax into the flow. For example, during an activity, I snowboard. The way I relax into the flow and body then appears to flow, and then I get insights of how I can optimize my snowboarding is by just performing, is by just relaxing into the flow. not trying to compete with another snowboarder, not trying to compare myself with another person. Unnecessary. Not needing, we could say, external validation, approval, or confirmation, as we've been saying, of the fact that I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, that existence is bliss. Thus I experience bliss. Practically speaking, the bliss molecule is released. Ananda mind is released while you're in flow. I experientially experience bliss. And we know that Ananda mind facilitates reconciliation of divergent thinking and convergent thinking, not suggesting that convergent thinking is better than divergent thinking or divergent thinking is better than convergent thinking. All of that reconciles while in flow. And so what happens then is while in the silence, while in the flow, so body is moving. I don't appear to be sitting perfectly still like I do in a meditation. Yet, body appears to flow, and in the silence, clarity arises. As a matter of fact, when I was snowboarding over the years, I noticed that when I would go up the lifts, I would have clear ideas emerge in my mind as to what to do for particular business areas, relationship areas, personal life, the answers to questions. And even we could say the answers to questions I never asked. Yet I received that within via the still small voice that we could say spoke from the sure foundation of silence while being in flow. And just as I experienced that while I snowboard, I also experienced that here while we are having a conversation. If you're an artist, and I consider everyone to be an artist, we may have different ways of articulating or creatively expressing. If you paint, for example, you may notice that as you abide as you are in the silence, you automatically flow. You may not even know what it is that you're painting, yet, let's say after the experience, the painting emerged from the silence. You may not even have asked the question, what is it to paint? What can I paint? Yet it emerges. At times you may ask. And then body flows and you automatically, we could say naturally, paint. Same is said in conversations, articulation. As you know, I'm a fan of conversations. You and I have conversations 3 times a week here. And during the conversations, we relate harmoniously with each other. My intention is not trying to convince you of anything. Why would I try to convince you of anything? Force, convince. There's nothing wrong with you. You are perfect as you are now. Reality is perfect as it is now. Silence equals, we could say, love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. I found what I was looking for in the silence. Or another way we could say this is, for no reason at all you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. For no reason at all you are fulfilled. For no reason at all I am fulfilled. Now, if the individual is identified with a particular belief in mind that suggests that a condition needs to be met externally in order for the answers to emerge, there may be thoughts appearing in mind that suggest, what is Joseph talking about? How could that be true? And that is a good question that arises from that belief, which is, we could say, looking to be released. And why do I say that? Is because I also had those questions appear in mind. Yet I started to notice this more so. This interesting phenomena, we could say, that silence was providing the answers to the questions that I had. Clarity would emerge from the silence. The greatest teacher in the universe is in the silence. At that time, it didn't, let's say, make sense to me, and that's okay. But I did put two and two together from experience. And so we're talking here about it. We're talking about it as we share this experience. Everybody that I speak with now, they all seem to be saying this. They all appear to say that, yes, during these moments of silence, whether it be during a meditation, after a meditation, or while I'm in flow, spontaneously throughout the day, moments of silence, the answers reveal themselves. One could say the answers were always there. That is true. The answers are always there. The answers are always here now. We access the answers to our questions while in silence. And practically speaking, for relationships, I've been a consultant for many years, coaching, mentoring. It is helpful to allow our clients to have that space for the answers to emerge. So practically speaking, I sit there. I appear to do nothing. I listen. And I know certainly that they are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. I know certainly that you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. I am love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You are also infinitely intelligent. I am infinitely intelligent. Even if, let's say, a belief in mind generates thoughts suggesting otherwise, we don't identify with those thoughts. Illusions appear to disappear. Those thoughts appear and disappear. And as they appear to disappear, clarity arises in the silence. There's a moment of silence. The answers reveal themselves. They share with me the answer. I may share the answer. We may share the answer at the same time. People appear to say the same things at the same time. And so now this is what people are saying to me. I was identified with a particular belief that suggested that there's no way the answers can be here. Yet, as that belief was released, the answers appear here, while in the silence. So any one of us can access the silence now. You can access the silence wherever you are. As mentioned, you can access the silence right here, now, during a meditation, in your room, where there's no noise. And even if there was, let's say, physical noise, you can still access the silence in those moments. I live in, let's say, very loud downtown Toronto. A little while back, we were in New York. We did the live event in New York. While in New York City, while in downtown Toronto, I experienced silence, which, let's say, wasn't as apparent before. Yet as we continue to release the conditions placed upon consciousness, you are pure consciousness, perfect as you are now. I am pure consciousness, perfect as I am now. Thus we together are perfect consciousness as we are now, and thus we relate harmoniously with each other. We appear to be in harmony with each other. And at times it may appear that I gave you the answer, yet the answer arose through me from the same source. And at times it appears, let's say, you appear to give me the answer, yet the answer arises through you from the same source. We access the silence together in the moment. We can even access this silence while we talk. Have you noticed this? So by accessing the silence from personal experience through meditation, I access the silence, answers reveal themselves. After meditation, clarity arises, answers reveal themselves. They emerge from the silence. While I snowboard, while I have conversations with clients, while I make these videos, the answers emerge from the silence. Yet body appears to move. I appear to talk, yet I am still. I am still as I flow. You are still as you flow. As we acknowledge that reality is perfect as it is now, by releasing these conditions placed upon consciousness, saying it needs to be this condition met in order to access the answers, which are here now. And so, upon releasing these conditions spontaneously, the answers emerge. And I don't do any special technique. Silence is being as you are. By allowing yourself to be, have you noticed? Everything appears to be in harmony. As I mentioned, closer and closer proximity. Now, that's my experience. That has been the experience of many that I've spoken with about this particular experience. But one of the things we have been discussing, for example, in my group coaching and mastermind service, Flow-Based Prosperity, if you're interested in that, I'll link in the description to it, is as we release these conditions placed upon consciousness, which are subconscious beliefs stored in the subconscious mind. So as the subconscious mind is deprogrammed from these conditions, these beliefs of condition, reality is experienced. And by that I mean, it appears, let's say, to us as things appearing to be closer and closer in proximity. You have a question, you go on YouTube, the answer reveals itself right there in the video. You have a question, answer reveals itself from the silence. If you don't have a question, yet let's say there appears to be confusion or uncertainty in a particular area of life, while abiding as you are in the silence by doing nothing, it seems to take care of itself. From the silence emerges the rearrangement of the appearances, we could say, and without an answer to the question in, let's say, a statement form or through words, the whatever it is takes care of itself. People appear to be in harmony with you. Another thing that we talk about, which is also related to abiding as I am in the silence, being still now, relaxing into the flow, which can be done during meditation, even in experiences, as we've been discussing, where the person in mind may label it as challenging or chaos, no shame, no condemnation. That is an access point into the flow as well. I also acknowledged this while I was learning snowboarding over the years. Although I say I learned this, let's say, quite profoundly during sales, consultative sales, conversations with people, relationships. This is where we could say relationships are the greatest teacher, as the relationships point to the greatest teacher. So it appears as the greatest teacher, as they appear to point to the greatest teacher within. People, we could say, bring us to silence. I trust you notice this. They bring us to silence. There were times, for example, I mentioned this earlier, we allow space for our relationship partners, friends, business partners at time to access the silence. We may think that we're doing them a disservice if, let's say, the individual is identified with a belief in mind that suggests those thoughts, that we need to go over there and forcefully convince them. Unnecessary, I find. Why? As we gracefully allow them to, we don't have to do this in a force-based way, not needed. I don't say to people, go to the silence. I don't say that. As we acknowledge and value the silence, and notice that clarity arises while we're in the silence. The answers are revealed while in the silence. Naturally, we find they go into the silence. They become silent in our presence at times. Not because I said, stop talking, but they actually become silent, and then clarity arises. It physically, at times, appears as them being silent, and at times, physically, they're still talking, yet clarity arises. As while they're talking, they access the silence as well. This is what's happening right now. So one way is not better than another. By abiding as we are now, and the practice is abiding as we are in moments. This is where I found it to be very helpful, to value the silence, to access infinite intelligence within the silence. What I found to be very helpful was in moments where, let's say, I, based on identification to beliefs of limitation, was confused in mind, was seeking desperately, let's say, for the answers, was thinking I need to do this or need to do that to get the answers. Restlessness, we could say. In that moment, I took the opportunities to release identification to those thoughts, that I need to do this or that in order to get the answers. Allow the emotions to be released. And mind became calmer and calmer. I relaxed into being as I am now. I abided as I am in the silence. And then clarity arises. Maybe the next step. Maybe let it be. It arises for me as intuition and or the still small voice or calm, perfectly as I am now. And as I have been doing this, which is essentially doing nothing really, taking the opportunities to do nothing in the moment, I started to notice this happening more so. I started to notice that the thoughts of needing to do all these things, and again, I enjoy reading books, I enjoy learning from people, I enjoy traveling, gathering wonderful experience. Yet what I found to be very freeing, as I describe it, is it's not because of this or that. The answers may be revealed here or they may be reflected there. It may be there, it may be here. I enjoy the journey and the destination, so I don't consider one way better than another. Yet what I absolutely love, let's say, is the silence. Knowing that while in the silence, the answers can appear, and they do. Or they can arise within, clarity arises within. Or things change on their own to be in harmony, as reality is perfect as it is now. As we release these conditions, these are the experiences. Another thing we've spoken about with some of my friends is the expansiveness of I is felt more profoundly, is experienced more profoundly, as the way I describe it is I continue to relax into the sure foundation as I am. Like, for example, a drop of water that falls into a bucket of water and merges into the bucket of water, is now one with the bucket of water. And what practically it appears as, from my experience, and I trust you notice this as well, as this is a common experience with those that I've discussed this with, who are also experiencing this, is people, environment, circumstance, information, which we could say make up the bucket, appear to be in harmony with them. As I continue to expand as I am, people, environment, circumstance, information appears to be in harmony, and it appears to be more so in closer proximity. And synchronicities appear more so. All of a sudden, people start to appear to help you with particular challenges, let's say, seeming challenges. Teams, groups, for example, in flow-based prosperity, members have partnered with each other. We talk about valuing relationships, assets, opportunities, physical assets, digital assets, intangible assets, combining them in creative ways, yet it's happening. We have a conversation about it, yet it's actually happening. Collaboration, in harmony, and in contribution. Everyone is appearing to be in harmony and in contribution in a mutually beneficial way with each other. That is a result of abiding in the silence. And if you are doing it and it's working, I can assure you by doing this more so, which is valuing the silence, appreciating the silence, abiding in the silence. It took me a number of years to come to this point because, let's say, I didn't like the silence at times, and at times I did. It wasn't always I didn't like the silence. Yet I began to value it more so, and what emerged is all being in harmony, the acknowledgement that reality is perfect as it is now. As it is now. As in the end, there's only God. As God was in the beginning, now, and ever shall be. Perfect reality now. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You can say, I acknowledge the silence as the source of the greatest teachings. I listen to myself and trust myself by being as I am in the silence. Clarity arises, clarity appears from the sure foundation as I acknowledge, value, appreciate, and abide in the silence more so. Everything appears to be in harmony with me. People, environment, information, circumstance appears to be in harmony with me, with increasing frequency on a continuous basis as far as the senses perceive.